All right. So we got Stephen Major here, two-time NEBA champion, staff with Storm and Roto. And yeah, I'm excited to see what he has to say. So first of all, Stephen, just tell us about yourself. You know, the values that kind of encapsulate who you are. Tell me about that.
Not too much to tell there. Anybody that knows me in southern Massachusetts or northern Rhode Island know that I'm affiliated with the shop, StrikeFX and StrikeFX Pro Shops. Alex Aguirre, Jonathan Van Hees, Brockton, New Bedford, and all the stores here in Rhode Island. So, you know, a lot of people know me from there, at least on the lanes. On the lanes, it's a little bit more of a serious tone. I take what I do relatively seriously. You know, for me, it's more of a journey. Outside of the bowling center, it's a little different. I'm more of a business-oriented person, so I'm building my own business, a coaching firm. So a lot of people that have engaged with me there know that we're doing a lot of good things there. Other than that, not too much to tell in regard to how I really identify myself. It's pretty straightforward. If you've engaged with me or if you've talked with me along the way, you know, a big part of it's just everything's a journey. We're not identified by one thing. We're identified with a bunch of different things, whether it's our successes, our failures, and just everything that encapsulates the journey that we're on. So
Cool. Yeah, take us through your life from the early years through the present day.
a lot of years to go through. So early on, you know, young kid in Brockton, went through the school systems, excelled relatively well. My grades were a little bit better than most. Took school seriously. I originally wanted to be a lawyer, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so I grew up and I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to deal with the courts and the justice system. Went through high school. Was still bowling, so, you know, bowling was always there. But it was more in the background. It wasn't something that I really pursued as a lifestyle quite yet. Graduated high school, got accepted to college, and actually I quit bowling for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, at the end of my sophomore year, decided to take it back up. I transferred school somewhere a little bit more local. Then the shift kind of changed from more being a lawyer and affiliated with like more concrete details in the courtroom. It was more concepts, you know, why people do the things that they do, you know, why do people commit crime, just everything that entails criminology. So I shifted my major a little bit.
No pun intended.
Literally. I just shifted my focus a little bit to focus more on why people do the things that they do and what drives their motivations, or whether it's environmental factors, how society perceives certain types of people. So there was quite a bit of a shift there, but I came back into bowling. Found some success relatively quickly when I first came back, but up until the present day now, it's been the pro shop, and bowling's really taken a big control and big overhaul of my life, not only just in the pro shops, but beyond that too.
You know, backing up into what you just talked about, you know, let's talk about the start of your actual bowling journey, you know, up to the present day, like, you know, kind of your bowling life. Just take us through that from start to finish.
So I didn't really start competitively bowling until I was about 15. Like I said, it was just something that I did. It was more just something that I did with on Saturday mornings. Really didn't see the potential of it.
You sound like Peter Fox in that regard, by the way. Because Peter, he started when he was 13, and then he didn't really start until he was 18, so same kind of deal.
Yeah, well, I'd always bowled, so I started bowling when I was 5. I was in the junior program for a really long time, but I really didn't enter my first tournament until I was 15 years old. It was more just kept it with the Saturday mornings and just kind of built it from there. I mean, I was always better than most, but it wasn't anything that I considered good.
So you were like a house bowler until you were 15, basically. House balls, you know, coming here, you know, drinking a couple beers, like that kind of bowling, not like competitive bowling.
Well, I wasn't 21, so I wasn't drinking beer yet, so there was no drinking beer there.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I was still competing on house shots. You know, the Pepsi tournaments and the youth tournaments were always still on house shots. It wasn't really anything hard until Sharon Evans started making JBSE, and she kind of branched it off of the original JBTs that were always on something a little bit more difficult. Did the junior golds, competed in JBSC. Won a couple of those. They were nice. They were good. They were really good quality tournaments. Definitely prepared me more than anything else had prepared me for harder conditions at that point. Made junior gold a couple times. Advanced around appearance. Wasn't anything special. You know, the biggest success in my youth career was winning the 2016 Youth Open doubles with Aaron. So,
right.
And it was really heartfelt. So, you know, after that, things just kind of progressed from there.
Go a little bit into the youth championship that you won with Aaron, you know, back in 2016. Like, take us through.
It was, to be honest with you, Matt, it was such a long time ago. I remember our first couple of games were really mediocre, and so I was standing a lot further right, keeping my break point kind of in front of me, and just learning how to match that up with my hands.
Kind of like a Norm Duke style line.
A little bit, yeah. You know, a little bit more the P. Weber, Norm Duke styles, where they always kind of kept their balls a little bit more in front of them.
Yeah.
Just something kind of clicking between the both of us. He'd go, I'd go. And there was just a little bit more of a flow to what was going on. It was almost like the environment just no longer existed. We really didn't care where we were. And now we're looking up. He's got the front 7. I've got 9 spare 6-bagger. So he shot like 7-11. I shot 7-17. And it was enough. So we had taken the lead early in the event, sat at home every round, looking through it, making sure that we did it. And he was at DeWitt School when we were presented with the award at the junior program. It was a nice little eagle perched on a plaque. So it's really nice. One of my prized memories from growing up, so.
That's sick. And then fast forward a few more years, you know, up till the past couple of years, and you won a couple NIBA titles. Take us through both those days.
Those days are a little bit more recent, so I can definitely take you through those a little bit better. NIBA happened really quickly, to be honest with you. I thought the journey to winning NIBA was going to be a lot longer than that. But it actually predates a little bit earlier than that. I had found some success on the Access Tours, you know, the local Southern Rhode Island, Northern Connecticut area quality events run by Brian Rhodes. You know, I won one early on. A couple of years had passed, learned how to bowl on some harder stuff. Things just started to click. I was working physically just on myself, but then also on ball motion, just being able to identify when the ball stabilizes and then what you have to do off the end of the patterns to get them to strike.
Yeah.
You know, kind of specialize more in how your ball trues up at the end of the pattern and manage and carry. You know, people I ask, like, oh, you know, it's easy to strike a lot. Well, yeah, when you recognize that your pins are kind of breaking this way instead of flowing backwards. You know, Access was just kind of a little bit of a runaround to be able to experiment with that. I was lucky enough to win a couple of those events, and I remember
more than a couple.
Yeah, it was a couple. Actually, I remember after winning the New Year's event, I was sitting at a restaurant with Kevin and his family when I got a message from John. He goes, oh, you know, you're winning Access so much. Now how about you go win something real, you know, go win NIBA.
Really?
And, you know, my response was, well, I can't get past the match play part of it. He says, how's that any different than bowling Access and the match play there? I said, it's totally different. The caliber is better. I remember this was probably around February. We just had a conversation. And the basis of that conversation was you have to change everything in order to compete against the best in New England. And even on the professional, even at the regional tour level, there's really not much of a disparity between the players that are in NIBA and the people on the regional tour. The regional tour, yeah, there really isn't, especially at the top tier of both clubs.
Like the guys making match play could compete at regionals, is what you're saying.
In a way, yeah. I mean, you look at the top 16 in a regional, and you look at the caliber of the top 10 in NIBA, not much of a difference.
Fair point.
Went home, made some concerted decisions about my lifestyle, and committed to them.
Really?
My first final was with Alex Aguirre and Kevin here in the trios. Faced Jay Johnson, who you recently interviewed, Bill Webb, and RJ Bros.
Great guys, yeah.
Yep, really good match. First time in the finals, so the adrenaline was rushing. So a couple of months later in June, it was either June or July, I can't remember the month exactly right now. I was looking for an over-under partner for the doubles in Cranston, and I reached out to Chris Monroy. And, you know, Monroy was kind of up in himself a little bit, you know, very distraught about how he was competing, and was at a place where a lot of people get to where they don't know if they can do it anymore. Had some conversations about ball motion with him. He had engaged with some of the people in his inner circle, and I actually remember messaging him that Thursday, and I still have the screenshot on my phone, telling him we were going to win. Yeah, it was just one of those things where I was confident about the team that we had put together. He was one of the best. He was still one of the best at the time, I think, and I was probably one of the better players that hadn't won yet. And yeah, it just went from there. Our look was great from ball 1 to the end of match play at the end of the final match. So the recreational part of the pattern was only covered from anywhere left of 8 and left of 8 in. So, you know, the gutter was really kind of out of play unless you wanted to get the ball there and hope that you wouldn't 4-9.
Right.
You know, the ball would come off the end of the pattern, come off the side of the pattern so hard that...
Very over-under?
Not really over-under, because if you missed it in, the ball still came. That was really big win, you know, first time win, really big deal for myself. first win for Monterey in quite some time, so it was big for him too.
Yeah.
A couple of months later, just kind of committed to the process. Won a couple of events up in Maine. Well, Charlie has his own series that he evolves year to year, and they always bowl on something hard. So
Yeah.
you know, always a great experience going up there. I absolutely love
They
them.
got the funny names and shit.
Huh?
And they got like funny names in the standings and shit.
Took me a while to get a name. I can't remember what it is though.
You don't even know your name?
Nope, it took me a while to get that. It took me a while, but tournaments out in New York, continued to bowl the regionals. And then came November in Auburn at the Tournament Champions, and that wasn't on my radar, but I'm glad it happened.
Very difficult shot, like a one to one, or very close to it. Right?
It was relatively close. See the difference? See, the thing I think about with sports shots as opposed to recreational shots is they're actually very similar, just the margins of window are smaller. So if you funnel yourself into the right part of the lane on a sports shot, it actually becomes a hot shot. Because if you're in the right part of the lane, you can still miss by 3 and strike. If you're in the right ball on the right surface. Like
But it's about getting matched up with, like you said, the ball
Yes.
on the surface. Yeah.
Yes, it's not always about, hitting hairs. It's, is my ball stabilizing in the right place? And going from there. Because you could bowl on 1-to-1, and with the track, it could be 3-to-1. The ratios are paper.
Hence how you and
Paper.
Ditto, that day it was you and Ditto, you guys whacked it on that shot. And it was like a 1-to-1 shot. I was like, what the hell is going on? But that kind of explains it a little more, I think.
See, the thing is, I didn't really whack it in qualifying. I just kind of paced. I shot 230 to start. Went like 170, 180. The pace of the play wasn't very high. They were taking 16 at the time. Remember just kind of controlling the pocket with a 2-inch hustle. And once I got into match play, and they also didn't re-oil for match play either. So it was easier for me to see the picture on the lane.
But the thing that got me, you see Forey, his only look was like up the 2 board, and then freaking, NEBA Hall of Famers were going like minus 100, and you never see that, but you still find a way, and that's impressive.
That doesn't mean that I'm any better than them. It just means that particular day, I was more cultivated to that environment.
Navigating the environment, like you always say.
Yeah, and like I said, it wasn't on my radar. Just kind of navigated the environment a little bit better than everybody else that day.
Same thing with like leading the East Providence Regional, same thing?
Yeah, that was that span of a couple of weeks was a little different for me. I really don't remember having my footing too well.
Really?
Just kind of in reality, yeah. It happened very quickly. It went from winning some of these other smaller events to all of a sudden winning what some have called it the hardest tournament in the region outside of a PBA regional.
Sure.
With the Tournament Champions, but then having to kind of reboot myself and not really celebrate it very long, having to reboot and then literally go back to work Monday and say, okay, now I have a regional to prepare for.
And not letting it get to your head. It's like, good job, but I have to keep going to win
You're
more
not
tournaments.
allowed. I wasn't allowed to celebrate very much.
Yeah.
Was able to lead qualifying and ended up finishing 7th on the day. So.
Yeah, and that's that's very as a new bowler, that's where me, and I know I'm not alone in saying this, we all aspire to be in that position, and whether you let yourself admit it or not, it is impressive,
Thank you.
But what are you most proud of? We've talked about a few things, but what are you most proud of thus far?
I'm proud of just the ability to navigate different environments at such a quick amount of time, especially since I wasn't on those environments for very long. There are some people who live their entire lives and never get the chance to win, and have to remind myself, especially during those lulls, where you start to kind of question things.
So your biggest strengths, what do you consider your biggest strengths, and also maybe some weaknesses that you're still trying to work on?
My strength is shot making. And I remember watching the TOC, and it was kind of like a practice spar. Not a lot of excitement was really emanating from me. It was more about executing shots and getting them off clean. Whatever happened at that point happened. But I had been in those situations before. Needing shots in regionals to make cuts, advance further. So it wasn't one of those situations where I was in that environment fresh off the boat per se. Those were definitely some strengths. I would say weaknesses is just being able to get my ball to see the front in the middle part of the lane with those higher elevated volumes of oil, especially what they're starting to put out now. Be able to line myself up off the fresh is relatively easy. Just kind of look at the graph, just kind of match up the surfaces a little bit, just common sense stuff. Do you need to get your ball to stabilize in the front versus down lane a little bit more? But it's definitely a weakness when you start elevating those oil amounts, because my ball in particular doesn't see the front very much, so it's very easy for my ball to kind of skate an extra 2 feet, especially if I miss sit a little bit at the bottom.
Yeah, so what got you into the coaching? What got you into starting Major Bowling? Take us through that.
I was always interested in just sharing information. The access to information in this region, especially with bowling, was very low, with events to bowl and never mind just learning how to bowl.
You want to get access to that? Follow New England Bowling.
It's a little bit, it's almost therapeutic, you know, you're working on somebody else rather than yourself, so, you know, you're watching somebody else get better and their successes feel like yours as well.
Giving back to the game almost.
A little bit, yeah, you know, I think that there's still more from the game that I want to take, but we're not going to be greedy.
Why not both?
Yeah, exactly. Since then, things have really taken off. We're going to start, you know, doing events. There's a little bit of apparel coming, but my family's really relatively rich bowling history, especially in this little subsection of the country that we have here. My family is home to 2 with Aaron, 2 with myself, 1 with my Uncle Bill, and 1 with my grandfather, so we have 6
Right.
titles. Figured that there was some value to other people as well as myself.
I guess last thing, Steven, you know, your future goals, your outlook for the future. Take us through that.
I always love what I do. I love being a part of the stores. I love being a part of the shops with Alex and John and, you know, Kevin and Randy, Nate. You know, I love being a part of it. I'll be a part of it as long as I'm allowed to and see where the sport takes me. If it takes me on the tour, then it does. We're definitely going to work for it. We're going to work every day that I can. But it's a process. You don't get to jump leagues. You know, a lot like baseball, you don't get to go from AA right to the pros. So the regionals are going to be the next tour, and then the national tour will be after that, depending on how things go. But
Anything else you want to say before we sign off here?
nothing really. You know,
I
thank
hear
you for what you do. Thank you for doing New England Bowling. You know, I was thinking about it on the way down here. It's a really great thing to have. They have bowlage down in New York, and you know, he definitely spreads the information down there. I mean, we kind of needed something like that. You know, we have James Bissett with his newspaper or
Sure.
his his digital newspaper. Just a lot of different channels to receive information today. So you're definitely doing a service for the region.
Appreciate it. But yeah, enough about me. You know, Steven Major, thank you so much for doing this. And
Thank
yeah, everyone consider taking a lesson with him. Major Bowling. Sign up for his event in a few months. And anything else you want to plug?
Nope. Thank
No.
you guys. Have a great night.
All right. Thank you guys.